What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Toxic Talks, episode number 38. And we got a lot to talk about this week. A lot of gaming, a lot of world stuff, and what better place to start than War Thunder? So, this week we ended up finishing off German Air. Actually, finished it pretty darn quickly, all things considered. But as you guys can see, and you will see from the gameplay playing in the background, we got a little ways to go for German ground. We're going to try to do our best to get through it, but I don't think we will be able to get through it, similar to what happened last time when we took our hiatus uh, with Sweden, pretty much. It's going to be the same thing with German ground, but we'll get pretty darn close. We'll get pretty darn close is the thing. Um, but it is a grind. It is a grind. We're currently, I think, 9-0. We have the two good Leo ones, if there are even considered good Leo ones. Um, we got the Tam, we got the Jeopard, we got a few things, but we ended up finishing off the EF 2000. And we actually ended up getting the F-15E this week and pretty much spading it. There's nothing really we need from that. So we're pretty much done with air until BF6, which is nice. We get to chill out, get to just do whatever we want and just, have a good time. And we're doing good. We're doing good. We might play some premiums, build up our SL a little bit. Probably play a lot of top tier. Who knows? Who knows? Either way, War Thunder is, it's coming along. It's coming along. But in terms of other things that have been going on this week for gaming, we've been playing a lot of Night Rain, like a lot of Night Rain, or at least attempting to. We've been getting really pissed off in terms of the teams that we've been getting because they came out with a new pretty much game mode. If you finished off all the bosses, which of course we've done because we're just built different. They came out with basically like a repeatable kind of cycle, which I think it's called the Ever Night. I could be wrong, but it's basically like an unlimited ultimate challenge. Every level you go up, the enemies get harder and harder, and it's just a big oof. And we've been playing that quite a bit. Again, there's been a lot of teams where we're just like, but we've been playing that with Carnage, and it's been an absolute blast. Carnage and I have been, when we play together, we get things done, thankfully. However, it is a little bit of a struggle, to say the least. It is a little bit of a struggle, but it's been decent. It's been decent, and or I think we're going to continue playing that off stream until BF6 comes out. I think when BF6 comes out, I think that might be the only game we play for quite a bit. You know, we haven't played a real first person shooter since pretty much like Warzone and what is it, Cold War. So getting back into the first person shooter genre will be nice. And I grew up on that. I grew up on Call of Duty. I mean, if you guys watched me from the beginning, which it's not a lot of you, there was like 300 followers at the time that I had when I ended up leaving Call of Duty. But Call of Duty and Battlefield and all those games have a special place in my heart. Not so much anymore. Call of Duty's been on the downturn for quite a bit, but I'm actually excited for it. And it'll be fun, and that comes out in literally less than 3 weeks. So we don't have too much time until that happens. Only a few more War Thunder videos for now. Again, I never say, like, don't get me wrong, this might be the last time you see me stream War Thunder. This might be the last time you see me play War Thunder. I'm not saying that it is, because there's always a chance for me to come back to a game. I say that for Once Human, for New World, for literally anything. As long as I'm interested in the game, I will play the game. That's not an issue for me. However, at least for now, these are like the last few weeks for a little bit until, well, until for a while, pretty much. So That's what's happening. But in terms of what's going on in beyond that, I did play a little bit of Tarkov with some friends because they're actually getting into it because they wanna play the 1.0 launch. And I haven't been really playing too much Tarkov. I mean, maybe like a raid every couple of days, but for me it's more so just casual. Like, I love when like loot feels nice in the game, but right now loot isn't feeling nice. I'm pretty sure they did nerf what's it called? Labyrinth. Labs felt nice when I was playing with my friends, but you know, I've done so many labs raids that I mean, even going back, it's just like sort of repetitive for me. But I've been playing that with them for a little bit, and who knows, I might actually end up playing November 15th when it comes out. I still haven't really been convinced to play it. Especially like I mean, I'll have to see how Arc Raiders does, but I think Arc Raiders will be good enough. If it isn't, it isn't. If it is, it is. Who knows? I'm just gonna play it by ear for that. But that's basically what's been happening with me for gaming, for gaming. However, in terms of life, I have my parents coming to visit me again this week, so yay to me. I I love when my parents come to visit. As you guys know, I've been like really living on my own for like the past, what has it been, like 5 months now, pretty much. Um, I mean, I technically lived alone for the past 2 years, but I had my ex and her family as sort of like a support system for me. So like they weren't like really doing too much with my life, but if I was like, hey, like I just need, you know, like human interaction with people that I know that care about me. Like I always have them, but like for at least the past 5 months, I've been, you know, I've been on my own, and that's not a great feeling. I'll tell you that. Like I'll be very upfront with it. It's not a great feeling. Like don't get me wrong, I call my parents pretty much daily. Call my brother. I interact with you guys on the internet. Like I have people in my life, but there's just something different where you know you're living on your own in this sense that it's not it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. And I have a different thought process on you know how society has come about in terms of like, oh, you got to leave your parents' house, you got to do this, you got to do that. It wasn't so long ago where you basically would live in your family's house until you either got married or, and unfortunately until they died pretty much, and then you would take over the house and all that stuff. This is more of a recent phenomenon and more of a western phenomenon than anything, cuz a lot of um a lot of even European or Latin American or South American, or like you name it. We're sort of like the only society that does that, but all these other cultures that are like, nah, you live in the house until you either marry or we basically kick the bucket. And I understand why. You know, you need a support system in your life. You need people around you that love you and that you can connect with, cuz like I mean, don't get me wrong, you can make friends, you can do all that stuff, but it's not the same. It's not the same as having someone who like truly loves you. Not just like, "Oh, you're my best friend. You're my favorite." Like no, no, no. Like someone who's like, "Yeah, if the ship is sinking, we're going down together," kind of thing. And I mean, I've been making it through. I've been making it through. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer right now. I've been making it through, but you know, if I had to give any recommendations to anyone, try to stay with your family as long as possible. I mean, especially in this economy and everything, like, everything is pushing you towards staying with your family. And I would say this, do it. Trust me. there's not too much downside with it. Like, oh yeah, you don't like have as much freedom, but it's just like, you know, I don't know if I would say I don't know if I would say that that's necessarily worth it where you're just like, oh, I got to do whatever I want. Like, technically speaking, you don't get to do whatever you want. You still got to do adult things. You still got to do chores and do like make sure everything, all the bills are up to like up to par. And, you know, for me, even if you have to pay your parents rent, in your life, if they're like, yeah, you got to give me XXX, like it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Especially in today's day and age, it's so worth it. But, that's sort of where I'm at. I'm so happy that my family's coming to visit me whenever that happens. It's not too often, maybe every few months. Um and I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it because it allows me to, you know, I think for me that's sort of my reset. That's sort of my reset for my mental, and it allows me to, be like, okay, I can make it another few months. I can make it another few months, and you know, but that's just where I'm at. Very happy, very happy. But in terms of what's been going on in the world, you know, um, I would say for the majority part, I'm very pleased with what's been going on in the world, but there's a few things that I'm very not too happy about. And this obviously relates to Charlie Kirk. If you guys haven't seen my tribute to Charlie Kirk, I highly recommend you do because it was in replacement of last week's episode of Toxic Talks. But I highly recommend that you go watch it. But in terms of that, I've seen some of the most vile individuals come out and this is something that we talked about last week, but slander his name, misquote him to make him look like an evil individual, and basically just try to justify his death. And even on top of that, for those who were fired from their jobs or shunned from society for promoting and encouraging violence against people, and then people being like, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. A man lost his life for his words. And there's certain individuals complaining that a person losing their job is the same as losing their life. I think that's a little distasteful. And you know, people are using Jimmy Kimmel as a figurehead. I don't really care. I don't give a shit about any of that because I mean he's just a figurehead. Other people that are in the same boat as him, whether that be lawyers, doctors, pilots, teachers, and something. I'm an advocate for free speech. I'm an advocate for free speech. But a lot of people don't know what free speech means. A lot of people don't know what it means. Free speech doesn't mean you aren't accountable for your actions in terms of society. Free speech means you're not accountable for what you say to the government. As long as it doesn't incite violence or encourage it or that stuff, you can say whatever the heck you want against the government. That's not the same for private individuals. And you want to know something? I'm not so much for cancel culture. Um, I don't agree with it. But you want to know something? You want to know something? And this has to do with this week's advice, but I don't really pity the people that have been fired from their jobs for saying vile things like they're happy that Charlie Kirk got assassinated, got murdered. You want to know why? Because they're the same people that advocated for people losing their jobs if they didn't bow down to, their ideology, their will. That's where cancel culture began, you know? Cancel culture began on the left. And now that it's being used against them, except not in a way that's ideologically like basically if you're like, oh, if you're right, like regardless of what you think, oh, lower taxes, oh boo, fire him. No, this is people like literally like, cheering the death of someone. Cheering the death of someone. That's very different than, having different ideological views. But even beyond that, they're getting the same treatment that only 5 short years ago the other side was getting, and they're bitching and complaining. You know, that's hypocritical. That's hypocritical. And I know a lot of people on my stream, they know that I call balls and strikes evenly. So when I say I don't like cancel culture, I really don't. I really don't. But, I'm not going to cry when you do something and then someone else does it and then you bitch and complain. Like, yeah, now you get to see exactly why it's not good what you were doing. So maybe we can come to terms that, hey, maybe cancel culture is not so great. Maybe it's not so great. And especially on top of that, maybe we can come to terms that assassinating people isn't also great either. Especially someone who, number one, wasn't a political figure. I mean, he was a political figure in the sense that he gave political commentary, but he never held office. He never did anything like that. All he did was speak his mind in front of a microphone, like basically every freaking podcaster in the world who has an idea. And, not everyone agrees with every idea, but that doesn't mean you're going to, assassinate them. you know, I think it's crazy. And, I think we live in too hypocritical of a world, which, this is my weekly advice. And this is something that I do on the regular. And if you come to stream, I live by these words, but live by the words you preach. Do not be a hypocrite. There's no don't do the whole thing of rules for thee and not for me kind of thing, or all that nonsense. If you think that, something should be this way, stop for a moment and think, okay, if the shoe was on the other foot, would I like it? If not, then your rules are bullshit. Your rules are bullshit. The things you preach are bullshit. There's a reason, by the way, why I don't run casts in War Thunder. I always complain about casts. I want to see a game mode where it's literally just ground v ground. I hate casts. I have a tendency not to run casts. Now, don't get me wrong. I do have 2 lineups for America that have casts, but I have run them less than a fraction of a percent, just because, like, when I did run them, it was more for like the memes and the giggles. But I live by the words that I preach. I don't have Cass in my lineup because I don't like Cass. When I say something is bullshit, is bullshit. And I don't try to, do the same thing. I'm not sly like that where I'm like, oh, doing that is wrong, and then I go do it myself. No, that makes me a hypocrite. And, I think there's too many hypocrites in this world where it's rules for thee, but not for me. And we're seeing that in real time in today's day and age. And, Charlie Kirk wasn't like that. Charlie Kirk, he was a man of what he preached, at least from what we know. He said, do XYZ, and he did XYZ for himself. And I think more people should start doing that. Way, way, way more people should start doing that. And I can say that from myself because, again, I've been living that life for quite a bit now. I don't try to lie. I don't try to, weasel my way out of things. If I say something's good, if I say something's bad, I live by that logic and I live by that rule. And we need more people like that in society because, as you guys can see, with what's been going on in the world, there's way too many people who are just the biggest hypocrites, and it needs to end. It needs to end. So live by the words you preach. But other than that, that is all I have for you guys. So I hope each and every one of you guys has a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. And as always, take care. I'll talk to you guys later.